All right, let's take a look at what happened in the third and what may well be the final season of The Great. We begin the morning after Catherine stabbed Pugachev instead of Peter. Catherine struggles with the implications of what she has done, and Peter seems mostly turned on, if not a little surprised and paranoid. As Orlo celebrates announcing that Peter is dead, the arrested members of the court now face a choice known as the bullet or the bear. They must choose to face a firing squad or go up against a bear. If they survive, they are free to go. Having forgotten about the other plans in place, Catherine seeks the advice of neutral parties Elizabeth and Archie to help her out of the mess. Orlo is livid that Peter is still alive, having sent out a press release about his death. He shouts at Catherine and then starts stalking Peter, attempting to kill him in various ways. Hugo and Agnes are unsure of their fate until they see Peter still alive. Agnes goes to Velementov and flirts her way into lessons of war. Georgina is confused about not being arrested and pledges her loyalty to Catherine. At Elizabeth's suggestion, Catherine orders Georgina to shoot Tatiana, and she does, shocking everyone. Catherine spirals, feeling sorry for herself, even hiding in a cupboard. Peter rescues his friends, only to have Mariel shout at him and convince him to march them back. Catherine visits Orlo, and he calls her a foolish child. She says she is leaving a lot behind today, and that seems to include him. Elizabeth explains the Georgina thing was to make the others believe it was all part of an elaborate ruse, making her seem savvy rather than weak. Building on that, Catherine meets with each of the prisoners and makes deals with them to remain in court and swear loyalty. She allows Mariel to stay but says they are no longer friends, owing to the betrayal of not telling her about her mother. Catherine and Peter are out walking when she thinks she hears a deer and shoots at it. Peter laughs. It was not enough noise to be a deer, and her shot far too high. As they continue making plans for their nothing-but-now future, we see the shot actually hit Orlo, who was waiting to ambush Peter. Ambassadors from Britain and the newly formed United States visit Catherine to ask for aid. While the majority of the court tells her to support Britain, Catherine is charmed by the American slogan, "We the people," and his passionate idealism with the practical art of getting it done. Young Maxim is frustrated by his arrangement with Mariel and how it makes him look in court, so he publicly challenges Grigor to a duel. Grigor struggles with the morality of dueling a child and solves it by having another child duel in his place. Think he may have missed the mark on solving that one, but Maxim doesn't miss and wins the duel. Peter is obsessed with cooking and salts of different kinds, but doesn't like how Catherine is with the American ambassador. Dr. Vinedel follows Elizabeth around like a puppy, and Hugo tries to pull on Catherine's heartstrings, but she calls him on it, and they discuss his downfall caused by believing in the people's goodness. Mariel tries multiple times to make up with Catherine, even trying to enlist Archie's help, but to no avail. Catherine decides to bring the two ambassadors together, and they begin a bidding war. The next day, she promises the troops to the British, but purposely delays them long enough for the Americans to win. She seals the deal with the American ambassador and immediately tells Peter, who jealously attacks the man. Velementov lets them go at it for a bit, while Catherine has a big new idea for her own We the People. Catherine decides to bring together the peasants, the merchants, and the nobles in a conference called the Nakaz to rebuild a new Russia. Peter suggests she starts small and shares some of his goals, like renaming raspberries to Peterberries and giving every village a monkey. Thinking bigger, Catherine attempts to make her first order of business to outlaw murder. But it is not well received, and Georgina fakes a fainting fit to cause a temporary adjournment. Peter is occupied by trying to breed a European superhorse, while Hugo and Grigor fight for his affection. Arcady spots a man named Simitz in the crowd and immediately goes to Peter and crew. Peter goes into a murderous rage, but stops when he realizes it would ruin Catherine's conference. He tells Catherine that Simitz used to trip him to amuse his father, and she begins to mock his rage, but then he continues that the man assaulted them as children. While Elizabeth poisons and threatens the head of the merchants, Archie puts the fear of God, literally, into the peasants, bringing them all on board with Catherine's ideas. Velementov reveals to Catherine that he's been coughing up blood and probably doesn't have long, so she insists he see Vinedel. Then she corners Simic and takes him to see Peter in public. Peter rages and almost kills him, but stops when Catherine begs him to. Still outcast, Muriel's maid asks for help and takes her to see Pugachev in the servants' quarters. Catherine isn't fond of the fear methods Elizabeth and Archie used and decides to table the outlawing of murder. Instead, she thinks of Peter and gives every village a monkey, which garners much applause, giving her the small win she needed. Hugo manages to breed the horses, but Peter ignores it as Grigor convinces him to kill Simic quietly. Georgina leads Simic to the woods and they all participate in his demise, Georgina revealing she had been his victim as well. Catherine and Peter recount their day, and while she guesses what Peter did, she chooses not to inquire further and goes to sleep. Everyone is preparing for Paul's ordination, and the stag ritual, in which Peter will shoot a stag with Paul attached to it, a tradition he claims his father started, and this practice session leaves some cause for concern. Catherine receives a letter from her sister asking about their mother. Later, in the Nikaz salon, Peter excitedly tells Catherine that Paul has said his first word. Catherine is unhappy that it is indecent, and fears Paul will be too much like his father. She cancels the ordination and stag ritual, and they have a big fight in front of everyone. Archie tries to change Catherine's mind, saying the ordination is for Paul, not Peter, and the decision jeopardizes even her claim to the throne. Hugo and Grigor join Peter, and they blow off steam by running at Bags. Elizabeth appeals to Peter to try harder, telling him of her promise to secure the family line. Archie visits Muriel and tells her to take advantage of Catherine's mood towards Peter, and she does. The two women finally make up. Elizabeth offers Catherine a book that could help them work on their marriage, and they decide to give the suggestions from the book a try. Agnes continues her war lessons, and Velementov tells her he's dying. Georgina and Katya bond over a shared vision of the future. Arkady and Tatiana, being the stablest married couple they know, which says a lot, help Catherine and Peter with the several different exercises. And Arkady even offers some valuable insights. They feel good about things and end up inviting Muriel and Grigor to play badminton. Afterwards, they eat, and Peter tells them about a letter he's been composing to Catherine's sister. Muriel holds her tongue, with a few kicks under the table, but comes away hating Peter even more. Catherine is elated that Paul's second word is book, softening her on the matter. Muriel begs Catherine to hold her ground about the ordination. Then she tells Archie about Pugachev. Archie and Elizabeth plot to secretly ordain Paul without Catherine's knowledge. But thinking of what's best for Paul, Peter decides not to go through with it. Catherine decides to allow the stag ceremony, and it goes smoothly after all. Archie goes to see Pugachev and begins plotting against the Empress. We see Pugachev giving a rousing speech to the people, inciting them to burn down villages and defile an effigy of Catherine. Archie is behind it, but innocently delivers the news to Catherine, who tasks Velementov with crafting a plan to deal with the situation. Muriel confronts Archie, and he reveals it's all a plan to get Paul ordained and grow the church's power. Catherine goes to Elizabeth, who puts aside her anger about the ordination and suggests Pugachev must be working for someone. Peter begins to see the ghost of his father, Peter the Great, who scorns him for giving it all away. But he is somewhat bolstered by the idea that the people love him enough to riot. Agnes distracts Velementov in the woods, while Hugo further goads Peter about his insignificance. Elizabeth starts a fire so she and Catherine can go through the apartments. Muriel rushes to Archie's place and hides documents tying him to Pugachev. Frustrated by the lack of evidence, Catherine briefly accuses Elizabeth and even Peter before giving up. Velementov is late for their meeting and has no plan, so a frustrated Catherine fires him, telling him to go rest. Petrov offers to find Pugachev for her. After his father's ghost is joined by future Paul, who loathes him, Peter asks Catherine to be put in charge of the army. She refuses because of what happened in Sweden. The men are drunk and lamenting their situations when Hugo says it all comes back to Sweden and they should go take it back. Grigor tries to stop them, but Peter decides to do it. So he, Velementov, and Hugo devise a plan to steal Catherine's army and take back Sweden. As the men march past, the ghost of Peter the Great salutes. Peter and Hugo are cooking fish when Velementov returns and says they have the troops. Catherine is with Grigor, who has told her everything, and they are waiting to intercept them. As they approach, Peter is happy to see her and rides across the frozen lake to talk to her. He calls Grigor disloyal, and then argues with Catherine about his plan. She says no, but he tells her, "What I am is not enough." She tempts him to stay and argues that she and Paul are enough. He says he loves all the versions of her and asks her to do the same. He knows she thinks he is destroying them, but he feels he is saving them. He says he loves her and starts back across the ice. He stops for a moment, and the ice gives way, dropping the horse and Peter to the freezing water below. Grigor immediately goes to help, but Peter's foot is caught in the stirrup, and he slowly sinks out of sight. Catherine is frozen. Meanwhile, at the palace, Mariel confronts Archie about the Pugachev situation. He's having a mental breakdown, and she fears he has lost control and it will come back on her. Katya has written a play and shares it with Georgina, while Tatiana and Arkady lament being left out of everything. Hugo and Velementov see what has happened, and Velementov immediately wants to go to Catherine. Hugo convinces him that this is his last chance for glory, and they decide to continue on with the plan. Catherine gets up, acting oddly calm, and Grigor questions her. On their way back, she tells him that they imagined it all, and it didn't really happen. Elizabeth visits Archie and reveals she knows he's behind Pugachev. Archie is relieved she isn't upset and won't tell Catherine as long as Paul is ordained. Mariel confides her predicament to Maxim, who says they must kill Pugachev, and helps her plan. As they arrive back, a still manic Catherine tells Grigor they can't say anything, and when he argues, she kisses him. Catherine hosts a surprise breakfast where she announces the plan to take Sweden, shocking everyone. Georgina notices Grigor's unhappiness, and Agnes goes to see Catherine. She admits her surprise, and Catherine basically says she knows about the whole plot, making Agnes incredibly paranoid. Archie tells Catherine that Pugachev sent a letter saying he's willing to surrender, and she says she will kill him. She needs rest, but instead goes to play badminton alone. Georgina confronts Grigor until she sees how much anguish he is in, and becomes concerned. Grigor spills everything about Peter's death, and she comforts him. Catherine is still maniacally playing badminton when Georgina walks in, but instead of confronting her, Georgina just joins in the game. They play all night, and still in manic denial, Catherine decides to hold the Festival of Fun, Truth, and Mesmerizing Ideas, hoping to make enlightenment more palatable to everyone. Georgina convinces Katya to perform her play that is crude and critical of Catherine. Petrov has found Pugachev, but Archie wants to mediate. Catherine comes up with a compromise that Archie will negotiate, but if it goes poorly, Petrov will move in and take him out. Meanwhile, Maxim and Mariel have gone to take care of Pugachev themselves. Mariel falters after his speech, hearing the truth in it, but Maxim sneaks in and shoots him. Of course, one shot to the shoulder isn't enough to take this guy out. He's already been stabbed like 5 times, right? Catherine struggles during the play, seeing the events of her recent years harshly depicted. She orders the court to dance until they puke. Georgina uses this time to start rumors about Peter's death. Elizabeth gets colder and colder throughout the day and decides to meditate. She suddenly realizes that something bad has happened. Believing he killed Pugachev, Maxim tells Catherine, who convinces herself that's the confusion and Peter is still alive. But when Mariel goes to Grigor, he tells her the truth. Catherine sends Katya to Siberia and tells the court the rumors are false. Jean-Pierre brings in desserts that he and Peter had been creating together, and Catherine falters. Just then, Grigor bursts in yelling that Peter is dead, and Catherine must face the harsh truth. Elizabeth takes Petrov to try and find Peter's body. Petrov is quite the logical and unique character here, guiding her through her grief. She sees a wolf and talks to it, believing it to represent Peter the Great Spirit, telling him to look after Peter now. She swims down to find Peter's body, and decides to leave him there as he looked peaceful. Velementov discusses plans to attack Sweden, and Hugo objects, not wanting to kill Swedes. When Velementov ignores him, Hugo knocks him out and attempts to form a new plan where he creates a nation called Hugoland. Petrov and Elizabeth show up to take the army back, and Elizabeth shoots Hugo in the leg to shut him up. And now, Catherine has entered her emo era, where she walks around zombie-like, bemoaning her dead heart. She did manage to make divorce legal, but it had unintended consequences. Archie and Georgina tell her it was a mistake, while Mariel selfishly urges her to continue it. Georgina and Mariel are fighting for the place by Catherine's side, and the court is betting on which of the women Grigor will choose. Finally, Catherine decides to preside over the divorces herself, denying any without just cause. She then awards half the estate to the women and raises the marriage age to 15, stopping the frivolous divorces. Maxim finds her and says he heard Pugachev is still alive, but he won't miss again. Grigor goes hunting with Arkady and Maxim. Arkady wants to grieve together, but Grigor just wants to fight. Later, Arkady finds him drinking on the steps, and they have a real grieving moment together. They follow people to a party and find them celebrating Peter's death. Grigor makes a big speech about how much he loved Peter, but Mariel protests. They fight over their differing feelings for Peter, and Grigor storms off. Catherine finally tells Paul about his father, and asks Grigor for a favor. He takes Paul away, while Catherine opts to play Russian roulette. She continues the game daily as she enters a feudalist state, feeling like whatever happens, happens, and questioning her long-held belief in destiny. Elizabeth sees the game and tries to talk sense into her, and presses the issue of Paul's ordination. Catherine explains she hesitates to kill Pugachev because everyone will think he is Peter, and she doesn't want the public or Paul to believe she killed her husband. Apparently, Grigor's idea of keeping Paul safe is hanging him from a tree in a small box. After a bear attacks it, he decides the forest may not be the safest place after all. You think? Arkady and Tatiana join Pugachev, even knowing it's not really Peter. He rallies the crowd enough that they actually take Moscow. Dude is playing the part well, even having his own version of Archie and Velementov. Hugo and Agnes are worried for their status and offer to help Elizabeth, who tasks them with finding Paul. Velementov finally sees Vinedel, who is able to cure his illness, making him regret some of his previous actions. He goes to Catherine and apologizes, offering a plan for Pugachev that appeals to her. She enacts the plan, but keeps Petrov as the head of the military. Mariel and Georgina are still jockeying for position as Catherine's best friend, and Mariel lets slip that she knows Pugachev. Catherine wants to know how he gets the people to follow him, and they sneak into a rally. She realizes Pugachev is just telling lies, but gets knocked down and trampled by the unruly crowd. Desperate to cover his own bum, Archie confronts Pugachev backstage, even taking a shot at him. Pugachev runs, but Petrov is waiting for him. He runs again, but ends up in Maxim's carriage, where Velementov captures him. Catherine confronts him. She plans to send him on a tour explaining the truth, but he says he won't cooperate. After she leaves, Archie brings in Maxim, knowing full well he will kill him, and he does. Hugo attempts to make an alliance with Georgina, suggesting she should orchestrate ordaining, then marrying Paul to secure her place in court. She drugs him and leaves, thanking him for a decent plan. Mariel asks Catherine for an official job, feeling her talents are being wasted. Nikolai, the royal astronomer Catherine forgot she hired, informs her that a comet is coming. He wants to use it to prove to the people that the heavens are knowable, and she is intrigued. They are interrupted with the news of Pugachev's death. Petrov sees Nikolai and challenges him to a duel for betting his fiancée, and Catherine falters, her plan now in shambles, leaving her advisors concerned about the future. Elizabeth talks with Catherine, showing her power and stressing resiliency. She says if Catherine doesn't take control of the situation, then she will. And if she sits on that throne, she won't be getting back up. Georgina finds Grigor with Paul and suggests they kill Catherine and raise him together. Grigor says he loves Mariel, but has adopted the motto, Paul is all. Georgina attempts to leave with Paul, but Grigor knocks her out. Hugo wakes up Catherine and encourages her to run. She refuses and goes to her desk to play Russian roulette again. Before she pulls the trigger, a man comes in to assassinate her, and she shoots him instead. This being the first time the gun she chose was loaded, it seems to change something in her. Grigor asks Mariel to marry him. He wants to run away and raise Paul together. Max comes in and says he and Archie have it in hand. Mariel has had enough and storms out. As Petrov and Nikolai begin their duel, Catherine interrupts and takes Nikolai's place. She turns early and shoots Petrov in the leg to remind them all that they live by her rules. Mariel gives Catherine the evidence she hid before, showing Archie was behind the whole Pugachev fiasco. Realizing the betrayal, Catherine makes her own plan. Meanwhile, Velementov finds Paul and knocks out Grigor, trying to take the child back to Catherine. Georgina then knocks him out, taking Paul to Archie for ordination and then marriage. Hugo and Agnes join them before Grigor storms in and shoots at Hugo, then takes Paul back, and the guards come to take Archie to the Empress. Unaware of all that is happening, Elizabeth sits on the throne. Everyone gathers and Catherine thanks Archie for schooling her with the Pugachev stunt. She plans on using the coming comet as a sign of her destiny to the people. She sends Max off to tell his story of killing Pugachev and Velementov to tell the real story of Peter's death. Petrov will take the army and get back Moscow. Mariel will send out conflicting statements of the events. Everyone will get the story they want, and she can use whichever she needs at any given time. Then she tells the guards to kill Archie. She gets him to sign a document freeing the serfs and such under threat of his life, then tells them to kill him anyway. He shouts about being played, and she retorts, "Consider me schooled." Elizabeth claps and gets to her feet, explaining the ultimatum had to sound dramatic, but she is happy that Catherine stepped up. The plans are enacted, and the public see the comet as a sign from God that Catherine is legitimate. Mariel digs up Archie and finds him still breathing. Catherine comes in rocking a slick new hairstyle and says, "Destiny didn't do it. I did it." Then she dances as "You Shook Me All Night Long" plays. And that is where we end Season 3, and quite possibly the series of The Great. It's a real shame Hulu canceled this amazing and unique show. I felt like they had something really special here, but I haven't heard any rumors of someone picking it up. Have you? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know any shows you are looking forward to. Can anything fill the hole The Great leaves behind? Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.